Alright, we're here with a quick deck tech for Neo-Machus, I believe is the term they use for this deck. This is a deck that, if you watched our blue-white control video, we got kind of blown apart by not having interaction at the proper time and then just getting comboed, and the deck seemed really cool. So I figured we'd give it a try. It's a deck that's kind of starting to make the fringes around the Pioneers. People are starting to iterate with, renewed interest in the format now that the Pro Tour has been announced is going to be Pioneer. So, what is this deck trying to do? It's trying to fill up its grave. First and foremost, it's an A+B combo deck. You're trying to get a Hooting Mandrills or Tasker the Golden Fang into play, which is a 6-drop creature that has Delve, which means you can get rid of cards in your graveyard in order to reduce its mana cost overall. So while it says 6 mana, it really functions as 1 or 2 with how this deck operates. And then you're trying to find the other half of the combo, which is Neoform, which allows you to sack a creature, go get a creature with X+1, converted mana cost, and then you put that into play. And importantly, with Neoform, it gets a +1/+1 counter, which is important in this format because there are no 5 mana time walks. So in Modern, when Velomachus combo was a thing, it tends to hit Time Warp and Savor the Moment, which are a 3 mana and a 5 mana time walk. Whereas with this, you need to get Velomachus up to a 6 mana or 6 power, so you can cast either Karm's Temporal Sundering or Part the Water Veil. And then what you do from there is you get your Velomachus, you attack, and hope to hit a Karm's Temporal Sundering or Part the Water Veil. Or if you happen to have put this in the graveyard with the other part of the deck we'll talk about, you try to hit an Invoke Calamity in order to cast this from either your hand or graveyard. The other half of the deck is just filling the graveyard and card selection. You have things like Otherworldly Gaze, Tagum Skiing, and Contingency Plan, all which allow you to look at the top cards of your deck and kind of fuddle around with the order of them, either put them in the graveyard or rechange them. Consider is the only actual cantrip in the deck, and it does give you a little bit of card selection with the ability to put cards in the graveyard. The one thing with this deck is you will note as we play that is that the not going into your hand immediately is very relevant. There are times where you want like the top 2 cards of your deck, but it's going to take you 2 turns to draw them. So learning the sequencing of that can be a little bit tricky. And then overall, this is a very glass cannon combo. So while it can potentially combo as soon as turn 3, a lot of chance for misfire, a lot of chance for disruption, especially in the post-board games once people know what you're doing. So very critical to win game 1 with this deck, and then game 2 or game 3 you try to maneuver your way around your opponent's stuff and maybe get a little bit lucky. As far as the sideboard, Leyline of Sanctity has kind of been a stalwart in most Eternal formats for A+B combo decks, often bringing in Leyline of Sanctity primarily against hand discard and disruption, things like Thoughtseize, Duress, Go Blank, which Go Blank ironically hits 2 parts of the deck. It hits the graveyard and the hand, so very important card to have access to. Stern Dismissal and Abrupt Decay are kind of your anti-hate piece things, whether you're up against graveyard hate or a creature that's disrupting whatever you're doing. Stern Dismissal allows you to return target creature or enchantment to its opponent's hand. So the main pieces you're trying to work around here are things like Rest in Peace, maybe Leyline in the Void if people were going that deep, but this allows you to play around that, and then Abrupt Decay pretty much answers anything else. And then this is kind of your anti-counterspell package. You have Malevolent Hermit, which sits in play as a basically a mana leak for non-creature spells. You have Swan Song and Mystical Disputes to fight through other blue counter spells. So overall, you have a lot of interesting plans. The difficult part with a deck like this is you can't really afford to trim too many of your combo pieces, because in the end you still want to, because the funny part is your 2 different combos. The setup to get Velomachus into play, and then once you're Velomachus, you need to have a critical mass of time walk effects in your deck in order to win the game. Now, oftentimes, Velomachus himself, hit for 1, setup, That's the other crazy thing is once you get Velomachus rolling, once you hit that first turn, any of your otherworldly gauges, contingency plans, tag-in schemings, then become dig even deeper for your Part of the Water Veils, your Karn's Temporal Sundarings. So this deck, once it hits its first time walk, often is pretty likely to win the game from there, especially with Karn's Temporal Sundering. Some way your opponent has a bigger flyer than you can bounce it and still, get through and get a little bit lucky there. But, as far as cards, like I said, I'm not an expert with this deck. I just started playing it recently. You can afford to trim maybe one or two of your time walks, one or two of your delve effects, one or two of your dig effects, maybe an invoke calamity. So you maybe only have room to bring in like 4 to 5-ish cards. Maybe if you're on the draw, you can afford to cut a land. That's one of the things with this deck is sideboarding is very tricky. And even with the modern version of this, the modern Neo brand version, before it got banned into oblivion because it was so obnoxious and could run on turn 1, you had a lot of situations where you had to be very careful what you brought in. So, very interesting deck. Let's get into it and see how learning this deck feels. Alright, we're back with our first match with Neo-Machus. Obviously, the main thing we want to find is neoform and some type of delve creature. So, I think this hand fits the plan. Blue-white control could be a little rough. Okay, never mind, not blue-white control. Alright, probably interested in a land next turn. Okay. If we spike a land, I think we get the combo next turn, so. Put his own Ascendency. Ale Crapola. Okay, put it with Sylvan Awakening, so we're probably dead. Yeah, as much as I'd like to sit here and watch our opponent do their thing, we're pretty dead here. Alright, so what is Ascendency even playing in the format right now? Just got that Ascendency. Do they have some type of graveyard plan? Not really. Bring in like Turn dismissal. Two of these, maybe go down a Calamity and this. Don't want to go too far down on the combo, obviously. But we did have a chance that game. We had the setup for a turn 3 combo. I don't think we can keep this hand. This hand seems fine. Put back, what, Tassiger? We're mainly looking for a neoform here. Land, scheming. Scheming, once again, looking for a neoform. Let's turn this missile neoform on top. Sequencing on this deck is a little bit tricky with do you play some type of counterspell? Apparently that answer is no. Looking for some options. No real reason. Oh, we probably should have attacked there though, but do they play counterspells? Alrighty then. Apparently they play a lot of counterspells. Okay. Still think we're dead here, but... yeah, I'm not really interested in playing against Masturbation.deck. Anyways, good luck to our opponent in the next round. Alright, let's try this again and see if we can get a little bit better with Earth sequencing with this deck. Huh. I feel like this is a mulligan. So if we're guaranteed to draw a second land, this hand's pretty decent. But we can do better on 5. Alright, this hand's pretty close to ideal. Put back. Sure. Looks like we wouldn't have hit what we were looking for anyway. Maybe I was supposed to leave one of those lands on top just to be able to double spell next turn. So Eldritch Evolution legal in Pioneer because it feels like this deck really wants, instead of having so much air, Pioneer legal is the question. Yeah, it's legal in Pioneer. Interesting. Like, I understand maybe there's not enough room for it, but it does feel like you really want. Land would be great, please. Wow. That on top. Like, I understand you really want to make sure that you hit the combo whenever you go for the combo, but I really wonder if you're not supposed to have like an Eldritch Evolution or 2 in the list just to like have 8 copies of one combo, 8 copies of the other combo. Now, I understand the decks are fundamentally different, but the Neo brand deck used to have 8 of one part of the combo, 8 of another part of the combo. You had 4 Summoner's Pack, 4 Allosaurus Rider in Modern, and then you had 4 Neoform and 4, you know. I understand you need to fill the graveyard to get your, whatchamacallit going. Don't really want to expose this to a removal spell, so we're just going to pass. Plan on otherworldly gazing. Like, our opponent's literally not doing anything, it seems. They're like red-black sacrifice, missing one of their colors, so... I guess the problem with Eldritch Evolution is actually the fact that you don't get that 1/1 counter, which is probably a big deal to the deck because of the time walks all costing. Oh boy. So what happens first? We draw our other Velomachus, or we don't? Hard to say. Power blue, please. Show me neoform. Yes, no, maybe. Apparently that's a no. Okay, well, you know. Time to just play the idiots and see if we can win with the bad beatdown plan. Want to keep the relevant spells in our graveyard. Okay, opponent sacks to get a... Could have brought Cat back. Alrighty. So, red-black Cat Sacrifice. Cauldron, Familiar, Drain. Alright, Rakdos Sacrifice. Discard spells. Probably just want to bring in these guys. Maybe bring in... Feels like most of their disruption is going to be that based. Do they have many kill spells that can kill 4/4s and 5/5s? They have some. They're more of an engine deck too, so go down. We got Mandrills. Alright, let's try the 61 card special. Sand does basically nothing, but does have a lot of dig. I guess we keep it. Obviously, they're vulnerable to go blank, but you know they're gonna Thoughtseize this on one and not get a blessed thing. See what we hit. Another land, not ideal. Okay. Sure. They're just going to strip us of most of our resources. Sure. Okay. We put everything but the scheming into the graveyard. See if our opponent has a go blank next turn. Yeah. Problem with their opponent's deck is they are so slow to close out. Like, once they get the engine rolling, it's scary, but, you know, they're not the fastest of aggression decks. So, yeah, they have had a lot of disruption in this game, but they also don't really have a lot going on. Feels like they did another discard spell, maybe. Oven. Okay. So we got ourselves a scheming. Tie on the scheming. Okay, well. Put that. Put that in the graveyard. And obviously, not sure why you wouldn't bring back the cat there, but you know. Sure. So how many? One, two. Two of the time walks are in the graveyard. Okay. Outside of seeing a neoform, we're putting everything in the graveyard. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cancel. I'm gonna leave the time walk in the graveyard. cat is back. We thought it was gone, but the cat came back the very next day. We thought it was gone, but the cat came back. Sure. How deep are we at this point? So it gets to ping us for 2 here, which is definitely a clock. Yeah. Funny part is we haven't actually done the thing yet. Deadly Dispute. Interesting. Why is that currently in exile zone? Oh, something I can play this turn. Alright, and we're not going to recover from that in time. Okay. So, opponent's plan seems to be exactly what we thought it was. Don't really think we changed anything here. Alright, we have the nuts. Let's force them to have discard spells, I guess. Turn 1 discard spell. Nope, turn 1 cat. Okay. Everything in the graveyard looks like. Then next turn, if we don't get discard spelled in, maybe we get to kill them on 3. Of course. Sure. So you have to take the Hootie. Going to use the World to Gaze during my upkeep. Go blank would be, I don't know if it's game over, but it would be very bad. Okay, contingency plan. And looks like everything is going to the graveyard. Pass turn. Sure, they've got an oven. They have an anvil. Use the battlefield during your turn. Put in the graveyard. Do I play around, go blank? I don't think at this point I can. Oh, it hits us for 1. Mayhem Devil. Leave that in our hand as a buffer against counterspell, or not against another go blank, although still don't think it's going to matter in the end. Because even if I'd left the Consider on top, I still would have had to bend the Bark Channel pathway, so maybe it was correct to keep the Consider on top. Yeah, see, this is going to be game, just because, yeah, I can't rebuild my, well, good chance I'm dead this turn, but on the off chance we're still alive next turn, we can try a combo. I just don't see us living through next turn. They put us to 6. They didn't bring it back. I don't know that I like that. Oh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's game. Hits us for 3. Yep. Alright. Well, pretty bad when you played 5 games and still can't execute the combo, so good luck in the next game, I suppose. Alright, we'll try another match here. See if we can... don't think we can keep his hand. This hand seems fine. Put back Tassiger. You know, I really can't think of too many decks that play Botanical Sanctum, other than maybe Merfolk in any format where I go, that's a fun deck to play against. Because they always seem to be busted combo nonsense. Okay, so spirits it looks like. 1, 2, 3. We finally do the thing. Glad you found this amusing. Alright, so we did hit one of the time warps. And game. Okay. So, presuming they're on Bant Spirits, what are we wanting to bring in here? Okay, so they're likely to have some amount of counter spells. Also likely to have Rest in Peace. So bring in Malevolent Hermits. These guys. Maybe a couple of Mystical Disputes. I think the problem becomes how much is too much sideboarding, right? So you can go one Invoke Calamity, one Part the Water Veil easily can go down. We can go down one Tassiger. And that's like the issue with these combo decks, is you can only play so many anti-hate card stuff. None of their main decks, I mean, Shacklegeist is annoying, but none of their main deck things really do much. You know, any type of counter spells they have are going to be rough. So try to go like this, I guess. Not the most exciting of openers, but I do think we keep it. Part but the Water Veil is like never a card you want to draw. Opponent digging aggressively for Rest in Peace, it looks like. I mean, the nice part about all of the different, like, otherworldly gauges and contingency plans is you do get to dig really deep for stuff, but the downside is, you know, you're just vulnerable as heck to, because you don't actually get the card until the following turn unless you, like, do otherworldly gauge during your upkeep. So, oh, okay. Looks like they're just on the aggro plan. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So, their worldly gaze. I think we hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we put that on top of our library. Gives us some outs here. They play Silence? Needle Verge. What on earth are they playing? Doesn't look like they're spirits after all. So they're angels? Yeah, Rest in Peace is semi-fine, I guess. Nope. Pop that. Get to hit our 1 copy of Velomachus. Okay. On top, on top. We're going up to 12 here. Alright, and we're finally able to get a match win. Granted, against a red-white angels deck, maybe? Maybe just mono-white angels? Who knows? Alright, let's see if we can do the thing one more time. Alright, we have part of the combo, but we're missing the color to cast it, and we're also missing... I think we go ahead and mulligan this hand. This hand has the exact opposite problem. This hand, admittedly, is also pretty bad, but I do think we have to keep it. Pack that and that. Opponent goes basic Plains Clevermancer. Okay, so opponent is going to be putting us on a clock. That could go in the graveyard. Probably need blue more than I need. Okay, neoform. Problem is we also need a black mana, but I still think I have to keep the neoform because it's much harder to find. Question is, are they? Yep, Boros. Ancestral Anger. Okay, that's a new one. Don't feel like we'll have a lot of turns in this game. So we're looking for either black mana or a... put that in the graveyard. Oh, well, I'm probably dead because I screwed up my sequencing here. Should not have played the third land. Because Blooming Marsh is going to come into play tap, so we'll probably die. Okay. Double strike, and we're dead. Okay. Yep, I definitely punted that game. Alright. I'm going to bring in Abrupt Decays and the Stern Dismissals. We'll get down a Calamity, a Waterfall, Tassiger, guess we'll give ourselves 4 outs to rest in peace. Especially on the play, we might be able to play a... Oop. 1 to 5. Keep a Stern Dismissal. Okay. One, two, three. Unfortunately, putting those in the graveyard, it's kind of terrifying, but Turn 2, 4, 4, go. Sure. Oh, fantastic. So the card that should be completely useless against my deck is turned on. Okay. Great for battle. Oh, I almost got killed on turn 3 ourselves. Alright, we're just dead. Yep. I screwed up sequencing in game 1, and then this game I just kind of had Reckless Rage to blow us out, so, you know. Well, let's try one last match, see if we can have slightly better sequencing results. No dig, so can I risk a hand that has no way to do the hooties? Nope. I think this hand's also a mulligan. Okay, this hand. Putting back the Tasker because I still had to find a black source in a neoform, so still missing 2 combo pieces effectively. Yeah, I'll put that in my graveyard. Alright, so still looking for that's this for 1. Alright, opponent seems like they're holding up counter spells for us. Okay. Okay. Curious exactly what they're holding up. Alright, that makes more sense to what their deck's trying to do. It didn't seem like a deck that would be playing a ton of counter spells. Even if we somehow manage to get another petty theft. So somehow, even if we manage to find a neoform, I don't know that we're going to have enough time walks left in our deck to actually close the... with 3 cards in hand. That, and then that. Just don't know that we're going to live through next turn. No blocks, am I dead? Decent chance we're dead, Jim. Alright, well that was fun. Question is, how much do I play around counterspells? This, I guess. Go down. Alright, try this again. cards in for some damage here. Card number 5. Alright, if they tap out this turn, at least maybe we'll have a shot. Okay. Okay. Obviously, this isn't without risk if our opponent hits. Sure. Okay, keep Hootie and the Bluefish around. Okay. Alright, Delve Creature Beatdown. Let's go. Yeah, put that one on bottom. Alright, Spell Pierce. A decent chance we could be dead here. Wonderful. They have a burn spell, we're just dead here. Wow, took them that long to figure out that one? That was a hard one. I love the people that just go tank, 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 tank. Oh, I have lethal in my hand. Just do it. I'm tapped out. And the reason I couldn't block there is because of any... really good chance Tasker dies if they have anything whatsoever. And I can't afford to lose Tasker or have to top deck yet another Delve creature when I've already gone through... What? 1... 2, another one's on the bottom of my deck, 3 of 7 in my deck, so the odds of top decking one aren't very high. So maybe I was supposed to jam earlier. You know, didn't know what their counterspell would be, didn't know if it'd be Mystical Dispute or if it would be Spell Pierce. If I had jammed Spell Pierce a couple turns earlier, I might have been better off, but I don't know. Anywho, not the best performance, but we'll have a wrap up here in a sec. So as far as the wrap up with this deck is a lot harder to get the sequencing and stuff down than maybe it appears at first sight. I mean, obviously, you're an A+B combo deck. You know, you need either a Tasker or a Hooting Mandrills along with a Neoform. You know, and then you need Karn's Temporal Sundering or part the Water Veil off of your first Velomachus or hit Invoke Calamity. So generally you are pretty high to actually hit a ticking turn spell, probably a little bit more than the modern version of Indomitable Creativity is likely to do. However, the issue is, you know, as we saw a lot throughout the set, there are some different issues. You know, first off, your black cards are a secondary thing, so you don't have as many black sources, so a lot of times we have these weird hands of like Tassiger, Bark Channel Pathway, Botanical Sanctum, and then we need to find Neoform and Black Source, and there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Black Sources in the deck. It's not a lot overall. You know, when you play in a format like Modern a lot, like I do, you get spoiled at having like functional mana. Like if this deck was in Modern, or obviously it could be played Modern, but you know, the thing with this deck is you'd have a lot more consistent mana, which would allow you to not have those kind of clunky, weird hands. But at the same time, you know, you still also have that issue of needing to find A plus B combo and the ability to cast it. So I think Hooting Vandals overall is a easier to cast spell, but you know, as we saw getting blown out by Reckless Rage, you know, the 4 toughness can be a benchmark at points. The deck fills out the graveyard pretty quickly. You can get a very fast Delve creature into play, but you don't have a lot to back it up because you are obviously an all-in combo deck. The other thing I noticed is, like with these decks, it's just hard to sideboard. You know, you can only afford to take out so many pieces of the combo. You know, you have a lot of like anti-creature or anti-hate piece and anti-counterspell stuff. And then you have those weird matchups where your opponent has both, or your opponent has discard and graveyard hate. And there's a lot of things with these style of decks that do make them quite vulnerable. And I am not a combo aficionado in this particular way. A lot of the combo decks I prefer to play a little bit more spell-based. They're more of a critical mass kind of decks, is the kind that I've kind of traditionally liked of combo decks. Like way back in day, I used to like to play Ad Nauseam combo in Modern, which was more of a spell-based combo. So, you know, these creature-based combos are obviously a little bit fragile. You know, when we got to do the A plus B and then Velomachus goes off, it's obviously a great feeling, but you do have a lot of times of just churning through your deck. You know, how many games did we have where we looked through the top 30 cards of our deck and didn't find a Neoform? Or, you know, we had that awkward situation with the mana where we had a Tasker and a Neoform but no black mana. You know, there's a lot of situations, and then, you know, playing around all the disruption. It's one of those things, this is a deck that it's still in its early conceptions. You know, maybe there's some iterating that can go on with it. It's vulnerable to counter spells, it's vulnerable to certain creature removal, it's vulnerable to graveyard hate to a certain extent if you can't get a fast delve creature down. You know, there's a lot of counterplay to it, so while you can theoretically kill on turn 3, you know, we also saw other decks that can kill on turn 3, like we lost to Prowess on turn 3, or Feather Prowess, whatever it was. We Jeskai Ascendency, you know, I think they turned 3 to us whenever, either turn 3 or turn 4 to us when I punted on sequencing of lands. So, you know, a lot of people like to see people of high skill play these decks. I often, you know, go through my introductory things with a deck where I'll simply go through and show, you know, the fundamentals that you might miss as you're playing the deck or learning the deck, you know, like the sequencing the errors and everything else. So, you know, maybe it's not the best strategic content, but it is, I think, a good example of the fragility of this deck, the difficulty of sequencing of this deck. And, you know, while the deck is fun when it goes off, it can also just sit there and do nothing and you die. So, you know. Anyways, this has been John, Pioneer Nexus MTG.